Hello everyone, you welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, insecurity continues imposing itself on inhabitants of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Forces of law and order intensifying the fight against the ill in the society. At least 6 persons alleged or accused to have been involved in different crimes have been arrested by forces of law and order here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. And the City Council of Limbe in the southwest region of Cameroon suffers the consequences of the 5-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. About 60% of his budget expected from the national oil refinery Sonora not paid for 2 years. Insecurity remains a major problem in the big cities in the Republic of Cameroon, including the nation's economic capital, Douala. And this is a problem that is affecting life of city dwellers on daily basis. Security and defense forces are stepping up the fight against this ill in the Cameroonian society. About 6 persons accused of being involved in the different crimes have been arrested by forces of law and order. Details with Smanjik and Gabriel.
Acting on firm instruction from the regional delegate of national security, Raymond Esogo, elements of the judicial police station in Bonanjo have again recorded success in another operation. At the judicial police station this Friday, 5 individuals suspected in the production of fake travel documents were presented. Amongst the 5 is a lady, Linda, aged 32 years old.
Dans la journée du 25 mai 2021,
while checks were being done for passengers to go on board Air Senegal, a police officer arrested a man who was about getting into the aeroplane with a Cameroonian passport but a fake Italian visa. We then started our investigation, which took us to Yaoundé, where we caught up with one person in the neighborhood of Biamasi. He later led us to arrest another group member in Odza. 2 others were arrested here in Douala.
ils ont interpellé le 27 mai 2021 au quartier Biamasi l'un des membres de ce groupe criminel organisé qui a permis de remonter aux 2 autres membres du réseau résidant le quartier Odja et du Auberge Bleu.
With these 5, security officers caught 3 Cameroonian passports, residence permits of Belgium and Canada, a birth certificate, USB keys, and 10 stamps used in producing fake documents. Another presentation was that of a young man accused of harassing people. His gang is said to have attacked a hotel in Dokpasi neighborhood in Douala 3, making away with belongings of persons in the hotel.
Dans la nuit du 18 au 19 mai 2021.
On the night of May 18, breaking 19, 2021, 4 persons with locally made pistols attacked a hotel in Dokpasi. They made away with phones, stole 450,000 francs from the receptionist of the hotel. An operation was later set up, which caught up with the group at a field in Makepe, Douala 5 subdivision, sharing the stolen items. One of the group members was shot dead as he attempted to escape with a Land Cruiser stolen in the same hotel. With him, security forces caught a locally made pistol and some telephones that were stolen from their victims.
Another crime, another ill being fought by Cameroonian authorities is the production, distribution and sale of fake products in the country. This is a problem that is gaining grounds across the country, and alcoholic drinks are some of the products that are being produced out of the legal channel and being distributed and sold around the country. And the Minister of Trade and the police force are putting hands together to stop this illegal activity. Charles Ekome has more.
The illegal trade of liquor, such as whiskey and beer, sold in snack bars in the city of Douala is alarming. To eradicate this unscrupulous activity, a special team from the Ministry of Commerce, charged of the responsibility to control the quality of products, has been discharged to seize fake liquor. This special team is also being accompanied by security officials of the Police Mobile Intervention Unit, also known as GME2 in Douala, an operation which is spearheaded by its Chief of Operations at the Criminal Division, Christian Awa.
We went right there on the field with a special team, and we were able to trace out and come out with a very good quantity of fake whiskey and wine that those who deal in this have been selling on the market. As you can see, we have wines and whiskey of different qualities that are actually fake, that if you are not been told, you will never understand that this is an illegal business.
He further warns that this operation will continue until every periphery in the city of Douala is free from the illicit sale of fake liquor.
So this operation is going to continue. We are going to make sure that all those who manage bars, snack and other drinking spots, we are going to infiltrate and ensure that all fake drinks are going to be extracted from the market, and to ensure that Cameroonians don't continue to consume fake drinks.
It should be recalled that on March 16, 2021, a group of Cameroonians staged a protest at the entrance of the Yaoundé General Hospital, clamoring against a spike in excessive drinking and deaths from fake alcohol.
Et ce grand, s'il est bon, la vignette, elle est bonne. Voilà la différence avec ce grand ici. Non seulement il n'a pas... Non seulement ce grand n'a pas cette institution sauf avant, ça veut dire que soit il a été fabriqué au quartier, ou alors il est entré par des voies que nous ne connaissons pas. Et là, ils sont incapables.
Now to Limbe, in the crisis-stricken southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the city council is suffering the consequences of the close to 5-year-long socio-political and security tensions going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. About 60% of the council's budget expected from the national oil refinery Sonora has not been paid for the past 2 years. David Sumaimo reports from Limbe.
According to the Limbe City Mayor, Mutanga Andrew Monjimba, for 2 years now, the Limbe City Council continued to witness a drop in its budget due to the ongoing armed conflict in the northwest and southwest region, and further worsened by the coronavirus pandemic, with a percentage of 36.24%, down from 52% in 2019 and 64.0% in 2018.
36%, not up to even half. It's difficult for us to play the game we want to play. This year was placed to serve as a stabilization year for our finances, which meant that we had to use this year to pay off our debts.
The ongoing Anglophone crisis and COVID-19, the city boss says, makes it difficult for staff to go out for recovery, with some business persons not willing to pay taxes due to low or poor sales. The situation is further worsened with the national oil refinery Sonora unable to pay its taxes, which is 60% of the city council total budget.
Just imagine that 60% of your budget is taken off. You have to function with 40%. Our net revenue should fall, should drop, and that our activities should have the same problem.
The decline in revenue percentage is said to have slowed down In some cases, halted ongoing projects, such as the construction of the ultramodern market, as FECOM is yet to pay contractors and grants from MINIPAD for the studies of the Left Bank Maritime Development Project, not leaving out the tarring of the Snake Junction Alpha Club towards stretch of road.
We have too many unfinished projects, which are due to the fact that we have not been able to collect enough revenue for this council.
The session provided an opportunity for the city mayor to announce the firefighting service of the city council to go operational in the days ahead, as those recruited are undergoing training.
And another problem in the Cameroonian society is HIV and AIDS and gender-based violence. 5 United Nations organs have come together to unite their strength with government authorities to fight this problem in the Cameroonian society, notably in the milieu of adolescent girls, and that is because of the high rate of infection among adolescent girls. And this issue was on the table of discussion during a 4-day meeting here in Cameroon's economic capital, where the United Nations officials and government authorities brought together young girls and other stakeholders to discuss how to reduce HIV infection among adolescent girls, and also to empower them to be more useful to themselves and the nation. And the objective is to have every adolescent girl in Africa completing secondary school safe, strong, and empowered. Now, for greater details, take a listen to the United Nations or the UN 8 country director for Cameroon in this extract.
This workshop was held within the framework of the Education Plus initiative to develop a theory of change. The Education Plus initiative seeks to keep girls in school until the end of secondary education to reduce HIV infections. There are still 17,000 new infections, and these new infections are happening mostly amongst young women and adolescent girls. Adolescent girls and young women are 9 times more infected with HIV than their male counterparts. So keeping girls in school will help us reduce infections and end AIDS in Cameroon, but also providing girls and young women with sexual reproductive health and rights, freedom from gender-based violence, and facilitating also their transition from school into productive life. This is also why we have here not only 8 ministries, 5 UN agencies that are supporting Education Plus, that are UNAIDS, UNESCO, UNICEF, UNFPA, and UN Women, but also the private sector and representatives of civil society. A network of young people was formed to support Education Plus. There are several resolutions that have been taken that will seek not only to find ways to keep girls in school. This is not only beneficial to reduce HIV infections, but also prevent early non-wanted pregnancies and early marriages. You know that is a big problem, and therefore keeping girls in school will provide them the knowledge they need to protect themselves from HIV infection, but also from gender-based violence, and to educate their children, because young women will be mothers in the future, they will be leading families, and they also need to play a much more important role in the marketplace, in the private, but also in the public sector. They need to assume a much greater role also within institutions.
Savina Amasari, UN8 country director for Cameroon, speaking there. We're going to tell you more about Education Plus and theory of change in some few minutes. During that workshop, notably during the closing ceremony today, Cameroon's Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, highlighted, among other things, the responsibility of young people who are expected to contribute in the fight to reduce news, HIV/AIDS infection and other problems affecting young adolescents, adolescent girls, and other young people in general. This is an extract of a message to young people. Take a listen.
Young people first, because the cleanliness of our society, the health of our society depends on the cleanliness of the young people. But young people, you must keep yourselves clean from drugs, from other things, because if you are not clean towards the older generation will not be clean towards you. It is something that is mutual, and it has to be mutual. As you carry on your network, I am really happy that you have a network, because that network will help to make girls feel confident in you within your network. There was a time when a girl was raped by so many, now I've forgotten the number, but there were so many boys who raped one girl. And I was asking myself, why do you have one girl move along with so many boys? Well, the thing is, girls very quickly feel safe. They think that they are safe with boys. Is that true? Not today. Perhaps some time ago, but not today. You have to rebuild that confidence inside your network. Show that boys and girls can actually match together, and that you can educate one another and become like brothers and sisters, helping the girls not to have AIDS and girls helping boys not to have AIDS. Or else we'll say the punishments should be the same. Some more punishment should be given to the boys, because we see the punishment on the girls. It's too evident. Or what happens to the boys, you know, and we are all related. That relatedness in your young people first, should become very, very evident.
Cameroon's Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalo-Valionga, speaking there, and we are receiving Savina Amasari, UN AIDS Country Director for Cameroon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to this program.
Right, we are looking forward with you to seeing every adolescent girl in Africa completing secondary education strong and safe. But there is a problem as of now, the problem of high HIV/AIDS infection among adolescent girls in particular, but among young people generally. And there are also issues of gender-based violence. What can you tell us about statistics concerning HIV/AIDS infection among young girls and young people in general today?
So thank you very much. This is an important question, because today still in Cameroon we have 17,000 new infections annually, infections of HIV. And we have around 500,000 people living with HIV. And amongst people living with HIV, women and girls are in greater number. 2/3, in fact, of people living with HIV are female. And when we look at the new infections, we have the same rate. We have more infections in females, and especially in the younger group, 15 to 24-year-old adolescent girls and young women are 9 times more infected than their male counterparts. So this shows us a little bit the underlying root problem, and that has to do with inequalities.
What explains that increase in the number of young girls who are affected by HIV/AIDS?
There are a number of reasons. Some are biological, and that is that women, because of their physiological, physical situation, they are more prone of getting infected through sexual relationships, for example. But it is also an issue of power relations. You know that HIV is transmitted sexually if condoms are not used consistently, and so negotiating, for example, condom use, which is not always easy for women and for girls, that is something that make women more vulnerable. Also, the issue that women and girls might have sexual relationships with older person, with older men, intergenerational sex, or other risk behaviors which are also exposing them to infection, such as multiple partnerships or selling sex. Those are all things that make women and girls more at risk. But I would like to say that it is so important that we keep the girls in school, because in school they will be in a protected environment, they will gain knowledge, they will know how to prevent HIV, and they will especially be more empowered to engage with men and with boys in a much more protected way.
Gender-based violence is yet another problem that is maybe not directly but also linked to HIV/AIDS. What's the rate of gender-based violence from your studies in the Cameroonian society today? You have been here since 2018, and when you look at the Cameroonian society today, what's the rate of gender-based violence, especially on young girls, adolescent girls?
In fact, we also speak about intimate partner violence. And it has been found by the Demographic Health Survey of 2018 that there is about a rate of 13.5% of women reported to have been victim of sexual violence in the age group 15 to 19 years. So that is quite high. Also, in that group, a quite high rate, 7.7% of girls have reported sexual violence before the age of 15. So that is quite important.
There. And now you've come up with this initiative, Education Plus, Theory of Change. Can you tell us a little more about this initiative?
Yes, so this initiative that in fact rallies multiple ministries seeks to address the issue of keeping girls in schools and providing the plus package, which is in fact complete sexual education and meeting the rights to combating gender-based violence and promoting reproductive health and rights, but also fostering the transition to from school into employment and into active life. All of that has been the discussion, and groups have looked at how to operationalize these strategies that can really provide this package, also for such things as menstrual hygiene, mental health, and also water, access to water, toilets. Take, for example, the example of toilets. Many girls cannot stay in school because they don't have access to water, and when they have their period, they cannot go to school. So they miss school days. They have trouble catching up with the courses, and therefore they drop out. So we see higher dropout rates. But when girls are kept in school, we see excellent results in secondary school. The girls are almost better as the boys, and so we think that really we need to make more to help families to support girls and the communities more at large. Also the religious leader. We have to involve the religious leaders. We have to involve the authorities, the mayors, the role models. Girls need to be shown role models, like the Minister of Education. She is a role model for the girls. So I do hope that a lot of girls have seen her today on television, because that is, if a girl is educated, she can make it very far, and she will be an asset for the nation.
Right. And talking about the fight to reduce the infection rate among adolescent girls in particular, why does education and empowerment matter for girls and for Africa in particular?
First of all, this initiative targets sub-Saharan Africa because that is where we've seen that there is such inequity in infections. So we, our UNAIDS is a program with 12 different UN agencies, and we work multi-sectorally in order to end AIDS by 2030. We can only end AIDS if we prevent new infections. We cannot treat ourselves out of the epidemic, although antiretroviral treatment has been expanded and we are suppressing viral load. That means that we try to reduce infections by making people with undetectable load of the virus. But we can't do it only like that. We need a change in behavior, as the Excellency, the Minister, has said. We need people to protect themselves. For that, they need to know how they get infected, how HIV is transmitted, and how they can protect themselves from HIV. It's the same for COVID. It is important that people protect. So for HIV, it's mostly condoms. It's not sharing any non-sterile needles for people who inject drugs or things like that. But for COVID, it's the mask. We always compare a little bit.
The mask,
and the COVID response
and all of that
can learn a lot from the AIDS response, which now is celebrating in these days 40 years. In fact, we are having a high-level meeting in New York at the Secretary, at the General Assembly of the United Nations, and that is to rally support globally to end AIDS by 2030.
Right, and the theory of change. What's it about, the theory of change?
So the theory of change looks really at where to invest. First of all, looking at what do we have already in place, because all of these 8 ministries that we had, starting from secondary education, Ministry of Public Health, primary education, MINPROF, MINAS, etc., they all have programs already. So how to create a greater collaboration among the programs that are already in place, and then identify certain challenges and how to address that, and see what can be done with the resources that we have, human, financial and political will, but also identifying gaps and then identifying the sources to fill those gaps. So the Education Plus initiative is an advocacy initiative. It is an initiative that seeks to influence policy and programs, and it seeks to mobilize resources, both domestic but also foreign resources, to invest a greater share of national budget in education and in health. And that is really where we have the commitment. I know we have the commitment from the Prime Minister, from the head of the state, to invest more in the social sector, which is so much needed to improve the lives of the most vulnerable and not leave anyone behind.
Who can bring about that needed change? Earlier you were talking about role models.
I think there are so many role models here in Cameroon. To start with the women ministers, for example, we have more and more also women members of parliament. We have more and more women who are emerging in key leadership roles in enterprises and in the private sector. We have more and more engagement also in the top leadership positions in different spheres, in the association and non-governmental sector, civil society. We have very strong women who are bold and they speak up. And so if we are, like we are in fact doing right now with Education Plus, if we bring everyone around the table, but we also bring them in a coordinated way and working together on a common aim, such noble as the one for Education Plus, I think we can win the battle. And I think this will not only help us reduce HIV infections and AIDS, but it will really, as you said earlier, this will really help develop the nation. And that is, at least we are having a lot of support now from all corners. We have new ministers joining this coalition, and Cameroon is seen as a front runner for this initiative worldwide.
Savina Amasari, UN/AIDS Country Director for Cameroon, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
On to something else now. The President of the Republic of Cameroon sets a new page at the National Communication Council, with a new person coming in at the helm of that institution. Joseph Chebonken Kalabupse, former journalist of the Cameroon Radio Television, has taken over, or is taking over from the former President Peter Isoka. The decree signed by the President of the Republic was made public today, and that decree, another decree, appointed other members who will be joining the National Communication Council, the media regulatory authority in the Republic of Cameroon. On to something else now. We're going to talk about the introduction of digital taxation policy in the Republic of Cameroon, coming as a sign of relief for inhabitants of Ebolowa in the South region, who had to spend several hours moving from office to office in order to pay their taxes. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
Paying taxes in Cameroon has always been described as a cumbersome process, as one will have to get into civil offices and later wait for hours before they are attended to. In some cases, one is expected to stand in a line under the scorching sun waiting for their turn. The recent outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic made the procedure more difficult, as not more than 50 people were allowed to be in the same place. In a bid to tackle the challenges faced by taxpayers, tax agents in the Bolowa South region of Cameroon were trained on how to use the internet in order to facilitate the payment of taxes through what is called online declaration. According to officials, the modernization of the tax payment procedure began in 2014. The method we are going to be using was expected ere long. It will help make work much lighter. Before, offices had lots of documents, but now the internet has made work easy.
Des archives, mais aujourd'hui, à partir d'un clic internet,
people can now pay their taxes wherever they find themselves. We noticed that the procedure used to be very cumbersome, so we sought for ways in order to make it easy. One of the objectives of the government in implementing the online tax payment is to eliminate fraud, which is common with direct tax payment.
And we wrap up the first part of this newscast with this advertorial on the Alpha Higher Institute, one of the renowned higher institutions of learning in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Charles Ekome.
Alpha Higher Institute of Biomedical and Technological Sciences is an iconic higher educational institution with
are doing it with the MBA. There are around 9 of them, and then we have the BSc or BBA. There are around 34 of them. We have the HND. There are around 100 of them. We have the OND or Ordinary National Diploma Program and the Brevet Professional Programs. There are around 50 of them.
Of international standards, Alpha Higher Institute remains the best place for studies, with spacious lecture halls and airy campuses, which expands the student body on a daily basis.
For me, I'm very happy, first of all, because I know my parents, seeing you being the best students, at least it makes them proud. My formation was for 3 years. It went successfully. Thanks to the teachers and the mentors and all the other people that have been supporting us.
Despite the plaguing coronavirus pandemic, Alpha Higher Institute has put in place measures to enforce distance learning so as to be at the service of its students.
There are always some problems, but at least at school we use machines. We were doing courses online. So teachers were organizing classes online. So we attend our classes online. Ask question. If you don't understand, you give your feedback, your question, then I will reply to your question. So each day we have a timetable, a schedule that we follow according to the topic of the day. So we're studying online during that period of coronavirus.
Alpha Higher Institute remains an embodiment of professional competence and educational excellence.
Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. We are receiving the Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, Fabrice Lena. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Sir Babila, for having me as your guest this evening.
First thing on the table of discussion this morning or this evening is the arrest of Barrister Amungwa Nicodemus, one of the lawyers of the Anglophone leaders detained in the Kondingi Maximum Security Prison in Yaoundé. You described that arrest in a communique as arbitrary.
Yes, exactly. We want to first of all say that Barrister Amungwa Tanyi, I was once his client when I was called at SED for interrogation 2 years ago because of my humanitarian and political actions and voice as to what has been bothering our people for the past 5 years. And I remember very well when he told one of the persons that was interrogating me that it is not allowed by the Criminal Procedure Code for a lawyer to take questions and to respond in the place of a client. And that was because some other investigative activities were being done just beside us while we were waiting. And from the reports that I got from Barrister Tamfo Richard, one of the follow-up lawyers of Barrister Amungwa Tanyi, this is the same issue that have come up while he was trying to defend his client. And I think that the person or the gendarme in charge here is the one that was against a law, that's a procedural process of the Criminal Procedure Code, which makes it arbitrary. And they came up with the idea of telephone and saying that images from the telephone is tantamount to promoting terrorism. We have seen how many people are in prison with this same kind of allegations that is just from messages. With social media nowadays, one can hardly control images that come to his or her phones, and it is very, very arbitrary for one to be detained on such basis. And that is why the Popular Action Party came up with this communique to say that he should be released immediately, because arresting him is putting more fuel on existing fire, which is not good for the situation of the country as of now.
Putting more fuel, adding fuel to the fire. The fire, of course, you're talking about is the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. How is his arrest adding fuel to the fire as far as that crisis is concerned?
Barrister Nicodemus Tanyi is a human rights lawyer. He's a fine lawyer who many look up to as the lawyer that represents the people who are in prison. I want to say that some people like Babila Vena, who was arrested in Kumba, I think in 2017, and his case has never been taken to the military tribunal, where it's not even the right place to judge civilians. And this guy was arrested in this Kale stuff. And this is the lawyer that have been following up some cases of people whose names have never appeared in any follow-up situation of trying to look at the circumstance of their arrest, trying to judge and trying to pass sentences accordingly. And then when they arrest such a person, those political prisoners are frustrated. They feel that the only person they are looking up to have come and joined them again. And this gives the impression to us political leaders that we are in the face of people who keep stimulating the radical spirit in us to go radical. And if one cannot control his spirit enough, you will see that it's adding fuel to fire, because those people who are in the restive regions might not have that temperament as us to say that we will have to use the media or voice to talk to the government. They might go radical into the bush again to add to the number of those who are already in the bush. And that's why we say the government is not helping the situation as of now to be arresting people based on circumstances that are not lawful.
And this is happening despite calls coming from all quarters, from civil society and other organizations, for the liberation of those who have been arrested in connecting to the crisis and a general amnesty.
Exactly. This is what we of the Popular Action Party think, that the government of Cameroon and officials of this country, the justice system, need to listen. They need to listen, because it is not all right, appropriate for us at this point in time, when everyone is thinking that we are moving at the face of negotiations, at the face of peace. Everyone now is talking about peace. You will hear this organization saying that it's time for mediation, it's time for peace, it's time for people to sit around the table and talk. But the government is carrying out actions proving the contrary, proving that they are not ready for talks, they are not ready for peace, they are still for violence. Because arresting representatives, arresting the human rights defender at this point in time is just proving to the world that we are not ready to talk to people. Appeasement is one of the aspects that they need to apply by not continuing this unnecessary arbitrary arrest of lawyers who are like the people standing for Anglophones in the restive regions and those in Yaoundé and Douala as IDPs or political prisoners in Koningui.
All right, we've exhausted our time, but with the permission of the news director, just one word on your alleged involvement. I mean, your party in a coalition which is known as Mouvement de Libérateur.
Want to use this forum to tell Cameroonians that the Popular Action Party is not a participant of any Mouvement Libérateur du Cameroon. Our party has not been consulted. And I want to also make this clarification of the fact that the former national president, Justice Ayapo Abine, followed the legal procedure, administrative procedure to change the name of the party from the People's Action Party to Popular Action Party. We have all the legal documents from the party's headquarters from the Southwest Governor's Office to the Ministry of Territorial Administration as of 2015, 2016, 2017, when the procedure was completed. So any other person that is having claim of whatsoever to go and represent the Popular Action Party in any movement without due consultation of the leadership is simply having himself to blame in the case of proving with documents wherever and which party he or she is representing.
Fabrice Lena, Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to once more give hope to Cameroonians.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Equinoxe is up next. Have a nice weekend.